Who's a fighting game geek? I am. Who loves Capcom? I do. Who loves SNK? I do. Oh man. Looks like it's time for Darkscreen 217 to review Capcom vs SNK 2 for the 6th generation consoles. Personally, I think this is the best crossover fighting game yet, even better than Marvel vs Capcom 2. The idea between two rival companies putting their fighting game characters to duke it out against each other, amazing. Now, I could go on and on about the history and feud between Capcom and SNK back in the 90s, but I don't want to be like Spax and cover that for 5 minutes and use up the rest of the time just for the review. Instead, I'm just going to give you the review itself. Now, of course, let's begin with the graphics of the game. I know it's not an important aspect, but I feel like covering this, okay? Capcom vs SNK 2, it is a 2D fighter, and of course they use 2D character sprites, and they use 3D background stages. The stages, they're average and visual, but still visually, it looks good. It's not like Guilty Gear X2 or Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, but visually, I think it's passable in some aspects. But I do have one little complaint regarding the design for one of the characters. Now, most of the roster, well, mostly on Capcom's side, they used rehashed sprites on characters like Sakura and Zangief that were borrowed from the Street Fighter Alpha series, which I don't mind at all, and hell, I think they put in some new animations specifically for this game. But why didn't Capcom bother to make an updated sprite of Morrigan from the Darkstalker series? Her sprite design is so old, it totally looks out of place within the rest of the game, but that's just my one little complaint about the game's graphics. Now let's move on with the gameplay. Now, since the game was mostly developed by Capcom, CVS2 uses the 6-button layout gameplay mode, like you see in Street Fighter and Darkstalkers. However, in addition to the game, you can pick one out of 6 different super gauges, or grooves as they're called in the game. And you got 3 grooves to choose from the Capcom side, like the Street Fighter 3 parry groove, and the 3-bar super meter system from Street Fighter Alpha 3, and you got 3 grooves from the SNK side, like the Rage meter from Samurai Showdown, and the super gauge from the King of Fighters Orochi Saga. Now, if you progress through the single player experience enough, you earn the right to even customize 2 of your own grooves, giving it abilities like air block, parrying, chain combos, etc., etc. And, of course, they have a little point system, so you really can't give it everything you need, unless, of course, if you beat all survival mode. Now, for the arcade and versus, there are 3 match types. Ratio match, where you can pick 1, 2, or 3 characters to play as, which also affects how powerful each character is. One-on-one matches, which is self-explanatory, basic single-player best 2 out of 3 matches, and the 3-on-3 team battle mode, which is straight out of King of Fighters, where you pick 3 characters, and of course process of elimination. If all the characters are eliminated, you lose. If you beat the opponent's side first, you win. Of course, for single player, they also add a training mode and a survival mode. Now, there's something else I want to talk about that was added straight to the GameCube and Xbox versions of Capcom vs SNK 2. And that is the Easy Operation, or EO system. What the EO system does is it changes the control scheme where the shoulder buttons are just a bunch of kick buttons, and tilting the right analog stick, or C-stick, depending on which console you're playing, will perform the special or super special move right away. As much as I want to say this is a good opportunity for newbies to get into the game, I'm sorry, but I thought this was a cop-out to cater to the noobs so they don't have to learn the character in and out. However, in those versions you can still pick the arcade control scheme for the GameCube, for Xbox and GameCube, so it really isn't that bad. If they stuck with the EO system throughout just the EO system, then I would have a problem with those versions. But since you can actually choose, I don't mind. Now, for the sound of the game, I really have not much to cover. The music isn't so bad. The London and New York stages have some catchy but corny BGM music. And in the GameCube and Xbox versions, the training stage can randomly play classic Capcom or SNK music, such as Ryu's theme or Keith Howard's theme. The rest of the music isn't half bad, but I don't think it'll be as memorable for casual fans. And for the voice acting in the game, I think it's pretty good. I mean, Japanese voices, some with English lines like Geese, and of course, Terry still blurts out some random badass English lines himself. So yeah, the voice acting isn't that bad, and Athena doesn't sound as annoying as she used to in the early games for some reason. Now, before I finish off the review, I want to cover the best aspect of the game, and that is the roster itself. There are 48 characters total to choose from, and that is including Shin Akuma and Ultimate Rugal Online. Now, half of them being from Capcom, the other half being from SNK. Both sides mostly consist of their poster franchises like Street Fighter and King of Fighters, but they still have their own little gems as well, like Kyosuke from Rival Schools, Yoon from Street Fighter 3, Maki from Final Fight 2, Eagle from Street Fighter 1, Rock Howard from Garo Mark of the Wolves, Hibiki from Last Blade 2, Halmaru and Nakoruru from Samurai Showdown, and Ryu Hakutodo from Art of Fighting 1. Altogether, even though I wish a couple different characters were added to the game, Dudley, I still enjoyed this selection of characters altogether. It's a good pick. Now, overall, while this game does have some small setbacks, it's still enjoyable for any fan of Capcom or SNK or 2D fighting game fans in general. This was definitely my favorite game back when I had my GameCube. And the PS2 version that I currently own now cost me about $30 used, so I think the game is still pretty rare, or at least the PS2 version is. Like I said before, if you're a big fan of fighting games like I am, I say pick this game up if you can find a copy. Capcom vs. SNK 2 gets an A. I hope you enjoyed this review. Leave a comment if you wish, and Darkscreen217 signing out.